In his use of parables, Jesus often exaggerates something so that people get the point that he's not talking about the image that he's using. And this is an example today. A sevenfold yield would be really good. You don't get 30, 60, and 100. It doesn't happen. It's ridiculous. 7 would be great. Okay? So when he says this, all these people that are listening to him know, oh my gosh, he's not talking about grains of wheat. He's talking about something else. That's why he says, if you have ears, you ought to hear. We would say, do you get it? Something like that. He's not talking about agriculture. Oh, so what is it he's talking about? Well, if we did the longer version of the gospel, you'd get a long explanation. But what I'd rather do with you today is work some images that we know from our culture. All of us know about maturing and growing up and going through stages of maturity and moral growth too. For example, when we're really little, we don't do stuff because we might get punished. That's really a low level of moral development. But it's normal to be there at a certain point in life. And then you might get a little farther where you do something that you think will help you fit in. You forget about other stuff, but if you fit in, you're okay. And a lot of people, and I'm telling you, a lot of adults, never get beyond number 1 or number 2. They're stuck there. They'll do whatever helps them fit in. But then we can go a little more mature, move up some, and we start to look at what are things that seem to help people around the world. And we can get to that point. Or we can also be stuck in a point where it's my truth. Well, isn't that special? Okay. So what happens when my truth and my truth don't agree? That's what happens. Okay. So my truth isn't enough either. You got to get a little more mature than that. I think a higher level of maturity and moral development comes when you begin to realize that there's something great and beyond me. And that something is not a thing, but a person, namely God. And this God who loves reveals to humanity, and has revealed to humanity, and reveals to his community, his body, the church, what it is to be moral, how to live a good life. Why am I here? That asks those kinds of questions. It doesn't just because I'm here, therefore forget the rest. No, it's why am I here to begin with? Who am I connected to? Who is the one that I truly love? Who might challenge me to go beyond my truth and go into divine truth. And I may find it uncomfortable at times, but that's what a challenge is about. So if we can get to that more mature stage, we also begin to realize that what I do affects other people, and what I do affects creation. Did you catch that in St. Paul today? St. Paul doesn't say the freedom of the children of God is only for the children of God. He said it's also for creation. He said creation itself will be freed from its slavery to corruption. That means it'll be freed from death. And we know that again from Revelation chapter 22. I saw a new heaven and a new earth, and there's no more death. And it's all different. So the plants, the animals, the biosphere, if you will, all of this, the solar system, the galaxies, we humans, anything alive and with God is to be caught up in God and beyond death. That's so very different from what we know. But what does that mean then for how I should behave today? Does it mean, well, I should just rape the planet because it's for my profit? See, our idea of thinking about creation is a moral imperative. It's not optional. St. Paul points this out. In the book of Revelation, it's pointed out. Many other places. We are to care for the earth. We're told that in the beginning of the Bible, in the book of Genesis, if you remember that. And in the book of Genesis, remember there are two creation stories, the one about the 7 days, but there's another one that people tend to skip over. And in the second one, God is the gardener. It says the Lord God planted a garden in Eden. Isn't it a wonderful image? God, digging and planting things and finding, I guess God just made manure. I don't know how that goes, but God planted his own garden and told us to care for it, not to run over it, but to care for it. You see, when we get to a higher level of moral growth, we realize that's all part of who we are, and we're called to that by someone beyond us. It's beyond my truth. This is divine truth. That we are to care and love. And we're to carry that out for people and for creation. It's a good thing to remember today, Christians, that this is a broad, broad challenge. And what a beautiful thing it is that we too take part in cultivating this beautiful garden, this earth. I know, if you're like me, that there are different days when I feel like I'm those different fields or different places where the seed fell. Sometimes I feel like the thorns, and then the good things get choked. Other days I feel like I just don't want it. I'm tired of this God stuff. Okay, and you're like this path that's rock hard, and it's not going to get any root in there at all. But there are other days when I really do feel like the soil has been cultivated and kind of fluffed up, so that when God the gardener comes by with the seeds of grace, I'm ready to receive. I'm ready to let it grow in me. Isn't that a great image? God is the gardener, we as the field. And remember, Jesus was telling the people, this is not about agriculture, but I'm telling you this story. That's why he exaggerated the yield, so they would get it. And so I wonder if we get it. It's not about agriculture. We recognize in this story, too, how ridiculously generous God is. The sower is throwing seed all over the place. An ancient farmer who is poor would be a lot more careful with his seed, believe me. He wouldn't throw it in the path. He wouldn't throw it in the thorns. He would be careful. But God is not careful with grace. God throws it all over the place, even to people that aren't going to accept, or only accept for a short while. God keeps throwing the grace out there. God is super abundant. God is so generous. That's the God we are supposed to image. Not the God who very carefully puts the seed only where he thinks it will work, but that puts the seed everywhere. What a joy it is to have a God who knows us and loves us, who understands what it is to be one of us, and calls us to be that beautiful field, the one that's plowed up nicely, that's ready to receive the grain of God's grace. And then we too can yield far beyond that 7%, far beyond it. 50, 60, 100-fold because of God's grace. Let's ask for the Lord to give us the grace to be ready today to receive the seed of his grace in our lives.